Hey high schoolers, if you're looking for some quick and easy tips to help bump your grades, well no problem, you've come to the right place. That's why we're here. Let me show you what I want to cover. First, most people don't even know how to study. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, each person learns a little bit differently. Since you're in high school, you'll also probably have tons of multiple choice questions, so we've got some advice on that front too. Taking good notes can often be fundamental to your success, so I will also address that. And lastly, we understand that everyone learns differently and there are millions of people out there who struggle with learning disabilities. And we've got guidance that we think can be useful to anyone, but especially students with ADD, autism, and dyslexia. So let's go ahead and get started right away. It's become quite common to hear that certain people learn in different ways. But how many of us actually take the time to figure out what kind of learner we are? Perhaps you're a visual learner who learns by seeing something. Or maybe you're an auditory learner who is able to hear words and memorize them easily. Maybe you're a kinesthetic learner. Or maybe you're the kind of learner that does best while listening to a certain type of music. Whatever the case, there are many different types of learning styles that work for different individuals. So it's important that we're aware of what kind of learner we are so we can study better. Some people learn material and retain information most effectively when they see it written out in different ways, or when they see it illustrated with pictures, charts, graphs, images, demonstrations, etc. This person is called a visual learner. If you can relate to this type of learning, then use images to supplement your learning. You can draw pictures, make charts, or search for illustrations of the concept online. Use highlighters and underline, diagram, and make lists. Use flashcards. These can all be helpful for a visual learner. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to help your brain recall information while you're on the test. Other people may need to hear information in order to process and comprehend it. This person is called an auditory learner. One helpful practice for this type of learning is to read the material out loud and even stop at the end of each page or paragraph and re-explain it out loud to yourself, or talk through any concepts you don't fully understand. You can also go online and look for resources which may have tutorial videos. Additionally, most phones now have an audio recording feature which can create MP3s. You can record yourself going over your notes, create the MP3, listen to it later as you're preparing for the test. This can help an auditory learner quite a bit. Kinesthetic learners retain the most information when they are hands-on with the subject matter. They learn best by experience. If you need to be able to touch and feel it, then maybe you're a kinesthetic learner. Flashcards, memory games, solving real-life problems, going on field trips, and discussing the material with others is going to be the most helpful to your studying process. One last tip for kinesthetic learners. If you're the kind of person that makes connections better while you're doing something with your hands, then pick up some Play-Doh or coloring sheets. Doing that while you're reviewing the material can help you memorize information better, and on the test, recall it more easily. If you're a musical learner, sometimes your brain puts things together best while you're listening to a certain type of music. What you can do to help yourself is study to a certain song. When you're going over that difficult material, your brain is actually connecting those memories with the music that's being played. If you're allowed to play it back on the test, you might do better. Perhaps you can hum it though, if you don't have access to your phone or a music device. This is another way that you can help yourself if you're a musical learner. Find out what kind of learner you are so you can surround yourself with the tools necessary to succeed. What makes multiple choice exams difficult for some people is that they often have multiple answers that are very similarly worded. This makes them a little bit more tricky. You have to pick the answer that is exactly correct, or more correct than the others. This, combined with the fact that quite often these answers are bunched up right next to each other and look very, very similar, can make these tests far more difficult for some people. So how do we beat them? How do we study for a multiple choice exam? One effective strategy for studying for this type of exam is to consider the possible alternative answers before even seeing the test. Predict what could possibly be a similar answer choice for each of the concepts which may be on the test. This will allow you to potentially know the questions and some of their answer choices before entering the test. It will also help you think and consider the answer choice you know to be correct in a deeper way. It will force you to think about why it is correct and why the other choices are not. Another highly effective and helpful study strategy for multiple choice exams is studying with a group of people. Trade exam questions back and forth. For example, you and your study partner or group each individually create multiple choice exams with the questions that you think are most likely to be on the exam, and then create some incorrect answers and include them with the correct answer. Trade with your partner or group and take the practice tests. By doing this, you not only study the questions and the correct answers that you believe will be on the test, but you also study the incorrect answers that you believe will be with them, making it easier for you to distinguish between them on the actual test. Additionally, you see the insight of your study partners and their thoughts on which concepts are most important. This drastically increases your chances to understand and predict the exam before actually taking it. All this put together drastically increases your chances of performing well on the exam once it's time to take it. When it comes to good study habits, the first and arguably most important is taking good notes. If you're in class, take notes. If you're not in class, usually you can still take notes from your source material. But before we go ahead and start talking about specific methods of note-taking, let's go over a few very obvious yet easily forgettable strategies when taking notes. First, come to class prepared. This may seem simple enough, but successful note-taking begins with preparation before class. Showing up to class having completed the assignments with a note-taking system, whether it consists of a computer, tablet, or regular paper and highlighters, is important. Second, focus on the meat of the subject, not the trimmings. The purpose of note-taking is usually not to write a full manuscript of the lesson or content. Instead of writing down every single example or sidetracked thought, stick to the main points and make sure you fully understand those before noting anything else. Lastly, pay attention to your notes. Probably more than any of us would like to admit, we can sometimes zone out while writing notes, but it is very important to think critically about the notes that you are taking. It is even better to absorb the material, reword it into your own words, and write down the note once you have analyzed the concept. Alright, now on to some actual methods for taking notes. The first that we're going to cover is the Cornell system of note-taking. This system involves 5 steps. First, divide your paper up into 4 quadrants. At the top, you have just enough space for the course name, your name, the date, and any other relevant information about these notes. Next, you're going to have a line down the paper, dividing it into 1/4 and 3/4 of the page, like this. And next, you're going to go ahead and leave a section at the bottom here for your summarization afterwards. As you take notes during class or during your reading, go ahead and put them in this large section of the page here. After class or after you've finished reading your assignment, go ahead and boil down these notes into the main points, which you're going to place over here. As you review at the end of the day, put your key points into a summarization down here at the bottom. Now when you go to review your notes at the end of the week or before a test, you have an easy to digest summary in your own words. You can go back for more details in the key points section, or if you need a really broad view of the entire lecture, then you can go ahead and hit the larger section of your notes with more details. Once you have your notes or material which you need to learn, you can reformat the content into flashcards, which have one concept, word, definition, or fact on one side, and then a corresponding concept, word, or definition on the other. Remember, not all exams consist of one-to-one connections, so using flashcards can limit you a bit. That being said, they are especially good for memorizing specific details. It can be very difficult as a person with learning disabilities such as ADD, ADHD, or dyslexia to do well studying for exams. These conditions make staying focused, staying organized, and sitting still very difficult, and therefore studying becomes a struggle. If you have an exam coming up and also have a condition which makes learning difficult, or if you could use some tips to help make studying a bit easier, the study methods we discuss in this video will be of some assistance. Many of these tips are universally helpful. First, for my friends with ADD and ADHD, consider moving when trying to learn. Incorporate your study material into your moving. For instance, walking and reading may actually be helpful as you process information. Just be safe. Treadmills are usually the best option for this. Verbalizing your problems as you work through them can actually help reinforce your learning, and for some with ADD and ADHD, that can be very, very important. Describe out loud the actions you're going through as you're learning, whether it be working a math problem or working through several sections of reading. This can help you stay focused as well as reinforce memory. Instead of trying to study for all the material at once, break up the material into sections and take them in short bursts of studying. Taking breaks between these bursts of focused studying is helpful for any mind, but especially the very active ones. You may even review the main points on the page you just finished, as recapping can help memories take root. It can also help you stay focused. Use technology. That's right. Don't be afraid of your phone or your computer. Instead, use it to your advantage. Set alarms for yourself to make sure that you're not getting distracted. Say, hey, I'm going to read this section for 10 minutes. And when the alarm goes off, make sure that you're still on track to read the next section. If it's time to take a break, then take a break, but set your alarm for that too, so you're not getting taken off track. If you have dyslexia, you may struggle with reading and writing really fast, which may be troublesome, especially when you have a lot to study and you're under a time crunch. Yale University suggests that students with dyslexia consider creating deadlines for when to begin a project, not simply when to complete it. Additionally, they recommend outlining a project before you begin so that you know what you will need to do before the day even arrives. Lastly, audiobooks can be lifesavers for students with dyslexia. Go to your library or go online to find these and other audio resources. Maybe record a friend or yourself reading through the material so that way you can reread it by listening. Lastly, audiobooks can be lifesavers for students with dyslexia. Go online or go to your library and check these books out. It can be very helpful to have audio reinforcement when you're trying to get a lot accomplished and you're not able to read very fast. Lastly, whether you're a student with learning disabilities or not, tutors can be incredibly helpful. Some educational institutions provide them for free or at least discounted rates for their own students. Check them out. They can be a lifesaver. I hope that was super helpful. And if you're a high school senior getting ready for college, check out our college study tips video in the description below. Also, if you need some more information on just how to be organized when you study, we have a video just for you. That's also in the description. Check them out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy studying.